Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Phil, and this is an idiot's guide to making a Nurbs control rig on a already rigged gun. And so this is a situation I see happens pretty common with junior animators, and they're not so good at modeling, and they maybe buy a gun off of CG Trader or Turbo Squid for 20 or 30 bucks, and then they open it up in Maya and they realize it looks like this. It's just a bunch of bones and skeletons and things like this, and this isn't exactly what you want to animate on, and there's a whole host of reasons for it, but generally speaking, you don't want to animate on joints on Maya. And if you are animating on joints on Maya and you have a specific reason to be doing it, this video is probably not for you unless somebody's shit posting you. So, basically what we're going to do is we're going to throw together a really quick control rig onto this mesh or this already rigged gun here so we could toss it into our main scene and get it on our character and have it functioning in a safe way that is going to allow us to animate it without having any worries about breaking stuff. So when I opened the gun, it came in like this. And it came in with a group, and then you probably don't have this Animbot thing. This is a little add-on I have for animation. Don't worry about it. Uh, and so it came in named group. I bought this on CG Trader for like 20 bucks. It's a great looking model. I'm happy to pay it for somebody who's more talented than I am. Uh, but unfortunately, I can't work with this. So first things first, they are referring to this as ass rifle, as far as I can see. So we are going to call this the ass rifle main GRP. And I'm just renaming that for my own namesake convention. And so we're going to make a NURBS control rig. And what this is we're going to go to create NURBS primitives circle. And we're just going to expand it out. And you've seen these before on any control rig you've used. This is what you're rotating in your FK, on your character rigs. It's what you're dragging to move your IK, your pull vectors. You've most definitely ran into this on a proper rig. And this is the proper convention of how we want things set up because, again, we do not want to be having the bones being animated on directly as it's a bad habit. It can cause just really nasty stuff with Maya in general. So first things first, we're going to get comfortable with this rig and figure out how everything's oriented. I've already looked at this rig, so I kind of know what this is, but you're going to have to step back and make sure you go through and do this step by step on your rig to make sure you know what you're dealing with. And every rig's going to be different. So first things first, usually these rigs, this is a game ready model, so it's going to have two joints in the handle, I can already tell. So there's this first one here called Rifle M2, and I have it selected and I'm just kind of dragging it around, and it's moving everything, which is great. So that is going to be, and then we have this one right down here, Rifle Weapon, and you can see this still moves the rifle, but it leaves this bone behind. The reason this bone exists is it might look useless because you might say, wow, we have two bones to do the exact same thing. But this is actually for your game designers and people who are going to be running in engine things. This is going to be where it gets socketed to hands. It's going to be how the game calculates where the gun is in proportion to your character's hand. It's really, really, really important to have this bone if you are using this in a game engine. If you are only animating in Maya for film purposes, this bone is not necessarily the most important thing to have, but uh, I'm going to leave it here because my purpose personally for this usage is I'm going to be bringing this into a game engine and animating it and doing some really cool stuff with it. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and control Z that mag. So this is the magazine here, and we can see if we move it, the magazine comes out, and then we have this little joint hanging out up here called bullet. And so this was thankfully named bullet. Sometimes they don't name them that. This is where we're actually gonna do a quick little 3D model of a shell casing, just because a lot of the models don't come with this, and we're gonna just get it quick and functional and parent it to this bullet. So then we have here the trigger, and we can see, well, it moves the trigger. Great. Rear T. And so rear T is another one of those joints that kind of looks useless, but again, this is for your game designers. If you're questioning what this is for, it's generally better to leave it. And in a rig this small, this light with joints, it's not going to make the biggest difference in the world. I personally am the game designer here, but I'm just going to leave it because I might find a usage for it later, and it doesn't hurt to have it. And the same thing with this one right up here. It's going to be called muzzle joint. And again, it looks useless because it doesn't actually control anything, but this is where in engine the magic's going to happen. This is where your designer is going to be putting the muzzle flash. He's going to be putting the, real juicy explosion. She's going to be animating the great rifle shake, or I mean, if you have muzzle shake in your highly stylized game, I don't know, it's a dumbass guide to rigging. So charging handle. So this is the little lever that kicks back, tuka tuka tuka, and then on this gun in particular, it ejects from this side. This model came with a few configurations, which was actually really cool. It came with one with the charging lever on the other side and one with the ejection on the other side. I personally like this configuration because personally I'm going to be animating it first person, kind of like this, and I want the charging lever movement on the left and the shell ejection on the right. So this is just a personal choice. And yeah, so that's we're and then we have the charging handle turn. So this is interesting. It's sort of a secondary controller here. How it's rigged, I'm just gonna leave it. I wouldn't have rigged that as a secondary controller if I was rigging it from scratch, but I paid 25 bucks, so I'm not doing it from scratch. So all right. Now we're oriented with the control structure. This is very simple. And so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to model a really quick shell casing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this charging handle back just to give me this room open here. That way I can see sort of the size I'm working with. I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to do a poly cylinder, and I'm just going to kind of move it up here using Maya's controls. I'm going to be rotating it. And all I'm doing is, again, I'm not looking to make a perfect bullet. This isn't a modeling tutorial. I'm not attempting to demonstrate how to model the perfect shell casing. Wow, this cylinder actually kind of came out to be almost the perfect size for a bullet. And then I'm going to just go ahead and extrude it out a little bit because this is a rifle, so the caliber would be a little higher, maybe. I don't know. I'm not the most advanced weapon modeler. And so I'm just going to go ahead and go in here and go into my modeling tool set. And I'm just going to go into my mesh tools and grab my insert edge loop tool. I'm just going to insert two quick little edge loops here, just like that. And then when we're done with that, we're going to go to our face select mode. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to select all the faces that make up this edge. And what I just did there is shift double clicking. It will select the faces between the locations. There's a faster way to do that, but I'm not a modeler, so this is just like what an animator knows how to do. I'm going to then hit Control E as in echo to go into the extrude mode, and I'm just going to scale that in just a bit to give us that little bullet back notch thing, that little iconic back notch. I don't know what you call it. And then we're going to excuse me. We're going to end up doing the same thing here, where we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab a edge loop and we're gonna drag it up here, just that way we can go ahead and grab these faces here. Faces, boop. Ah, yeah. See, this is what I was talking about with how it grabs weird. So what you can do is you can kind of go to the side view here and grab like that, and then see if you missed any, and then just sort of collect them. Again, I'm sure some modelers are watching this and they're just like cringing at what I'm doing, but it's a functional understanding. So I went to school for animation, not for modeling. Sorry to disappoint you all. And then so we're gonna extrude this in just a hair, and then we're going to Control E again and extrude this in just a hair, and then we're just going to go ahead and push it in. And so it's a little thin-walled, it's not a proper shell casing, but this thing's going to be on screen for uh, 2 or 3 frames max. So it's not going to be the biggest deal in the world. And so, accidentally pop something up. So we have our shell casing here. Looks great. We're going to go ahead and plop it down here for now, and we're going to rename that to uh, ass rifle shell casing. Perfect. Great. So now we're going to just hide this really quick. We don't need to worry about it. And we're going to get into the control rig properly here. So, oh, that's my, what you might be seeing there, that's my Maya autosave pop-up. If you don't have that set up, don't worry about it. I'm not doing some kind of fancy hotkey or anything. Don't start sweating it if you're one of those people who needs to follow a tutorial to a T sometimes. So, all right, we're going to make a Nurbs control rig. So the first things first is we learned the rig, so we know we have a, I'm going to drop the ass prefix, and we're going to just call this rifle, uh, we're going to call this rifle root, and then we are going to control D to duplicate this and make a smaller one, and we're going to call this one rifle main. And so, oh, we already have rifle main 3. All right, we're going to call this rifle main CTRL, and we're going to go ahead and add CTRL to the end of everything. And great, we're going to just go ahead and grab this, and we're going to drag it up under the rifle root, so the rifle root drags this. And what we're going to do really quick, actually, is before we do that, we're going to Control Z that, and we're going to go ahead and change the color of these, because I don't actually like having them all blue, and it's just going to be a little bit nicer to work with. So the first things first, we're going to hit Control A to open our attribute editor, and we're going to bring it over here. And with the Nurbs curve selected, if you go to Object, let's see here. Give me 1 second. Drawing overrides, here we go. So the place to be is under Component Object Display, Drawing Overrides. And we're going to hit Enable Overrides. And I'm personally going to change this to RGB just because that's the color I like. And for my root controller, I'm going to go ahead and make it yellow just because I know that means don't touch it after I have it set up. And then I'm going to get my rifle main controller. I'm going to hit Enable Overrides. And we're going to go ahead and set this to be red. And that's just because I decided I want it to be red. And great, now we're going to go ahead and grab this rifle main control and drag it up here to make the rifle root controller control it. And we can see here by testing, they're both moving together. Great. And then if I grab rifle main controller, it's moving by itself. Awesome. So we can now go ahead and make a new Nurb circle, and I'm actually going to do it via a tool shelf that is already set up in Maya 2019. If you go to Curbs and then click the circle, it just makes one really quick, and you don't even have to worry about it. And we're going to go ahead and make this one for the magazine. And you can go up to create and go ahead and make a Nurb circle that way, but when you're working in Maya 8 hours a day, these little saves that save you a couple seconds really do add up. So we're going to go ahead and call this one rifle mag control, and I'm going to override this to blue. So I like my accessories to be blue. I don't have any particular reason for that. I just one day decided I liked that. We're going to go ahead and make one for the trigger now, and we're going to go in here, and let's see. Oop. We're going to go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees to get it lined up with the trigger. And I just pressed F to focus in there. That's how I'm jumping around so quickly. I'm just used to the camera controls, which is a byproduct of using a lot of Maya and then knowing hotkeys. So it'll just come with time. And then we can call this right here rifle trigger control. And we're going to go ahead and override this RGB to dark blue. And then I believe we have one more right up here. And so this one's going to be a little trickier. So we're going to do a little bit more of an advanced placement strategy. So first things first, I'm going to make this Nurbs circle. And I'm actually going to drag it out here because it actually doesn't matter where I put it. And so the first thing I know is I want it to go all the way up here to this charging handle. And just going to move it back to where it goes. I know for a fact it's negative 42. That's not exactly the best case. It should be zeroed out there, but we're given what we're given. So we're gonna just name this NURB circle really quick. Rifle. I'm gonna call it CH for charge handle, and then control. And what we're gonna actually do is we're gonna grab the charge handle control joint first, and then control click in the outliner rifle CH control, and we're gonna go make sure we're in the animation toolkit, and we're going to go to constrain and open this little checkbox on parent. And when it pops up here, I'm going to close the attribute editor for now. We're going to make sure maintain offset is checked off. And then we're going to hit add. And you might go, where'd my circle go? Well, the NURB circle actually popped up in here into the rifle. And it's actually hiding out in here. But it snaps to the joint, so we're going to have to move it because we actually want it a little bit out here. We don't want it right on the joint because it's inconvenient to animate there. So we're going to actually go in here, and you can see right here this rifle CH control parent constraint that's made here. Now we're going to have to click this here and hit delete. And now that rifle controller is still in there, but we're free to move it around. So we are going to just pull this out here, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of rotation, and maybe scale it up a little bit, just get it to a comfortable level, put it in there. Great. And we're going to hit Control A again, and we're going to override this RGB to blue. Super. All right. This one being yellow is actually kind of super ugly, isn't it? We're going to make that green. That looks better. It's still a little vomity, but, you know, it's fine. All right. So we need to finish building our control rig because we went ahead and we made these, but they're outside of it. As you can see, our little mags and stuff did not get added here. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to try to add them in the hierarchy order that is most similar to the joints here. So I'm going to make sure my control rig goes root, main control, magazine, trigger, charge handle. And the reason we're skipping rear T and muzzle is because, again, these are for our designers and engine. We don't have to worry about them right now, so we'll just ignore them. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab this rifle mag control. We're going to middle click drag it right up under the main control, and we can see it's right there. And then the next one we're going to grab is the trigger, and we're going to drag it up here, and then the charge handle. And those are in the same order, so it's looking great. So if we test it now, we can see that everything's being driven when we have the root controller. When we have the main controller, everything but the root controller is being driven. And then we have the magazine controller separate, and the trigger controller separate, and the charge handle controller separate. And it's a good idea to wiggle things like I'm doing here and talk your way through this stuff because it's nice to confirm this step by step. And now some of you might be saying, but Phil, you forgot the bullet. And I say to that, you're right, I did forget the bullet. So let's deal with that right now. So we're going to grab the, first things first, we're going to add the bullet to our main group because we want to make sure it's part of the family. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of cleanup where I'm going to drag this right above the geo. And that's just because I like having the geo below everything personally. And that's just how I go with it. And actually, we're going to drag this out of the group because we don't want it in there just yet. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Please, Autodesk Maya. Oh no. See, this is why it's an idiot's guide, because I can't pull it out of the group. There we go. Wow, chef's kiss. That was so easy. All right, so we're gonna hide this geo, and actually we're gonna do the same little trick we did for that Nurbs controller to position the shell casing. So the shell casing, we're gonna go ahead and go into the mag and the bullet, and we're gonna select our shell casing, and we are going to go to constrain and parent, and wait for it to pop up. And we're going to make sure maintain offset is checked off and hit add. And as you can see, it popped up here, but the shell casing spun around, but that's okay. We're going to go to our shell casing. We're going to delete this parent constraint again. Boop. And then we are going to grab the shell casing, and I am going to go ahead and spin this around 180 degrees. And then what I'm actually going to do to the shell casing now is a very important step if you're modeling. We need to go in here and do some cleanup. We need to freeze the transforms and delete the modeling history. Now this is incredibly important. And if we don't do this, it can cause all sorts of issues for the animators and then center the pivot. And it's all done under poly modeling and then these three buttons right here. There's another way to do it in the modeling area where you can go to, oh, got an autosave pop up here, modify, and then you can go here to freeze transforms and then center pivot, and these are just a faster way to do it. And then you'll have to do a delete by type history. Great, so the bullet's here, and so now I'm actually going to add it to the group because now I'm okay with its placement, and great, that will do it for us. And then we're going to have to constrain that to be driven by the joint. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to grab this bullet joint and we're going to have to grab our, we're actually going to have to make a Nurbs controller for our bullet now. So I'm going to go to curves and click this button and we're going to do our little cheat that we know. So we're going to grab the rifle shell casing and then the Nurb circle. We're going to come up here to animation, constrain parent. And then we're going to go ahead and delete the parent off the Nurb circle. And there we go. We got it moved into place. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And while I know it's going to be annoying to have this in here for animation purposes, I'm all right with it. So we're going to call this rifle bullet control. And we're going to drag this under rifle mag control to match the hierarchy of the bones. And then I'm going to grab this and hit Control A. I'm going to do an override on this. And I like to override my bullets to a bright, bright pink. And that's just because if you have this mesh on and you hide it, you can see that bright, bright pink in there, and I know exactly where my bullet is on a moment's notice. If I had a blue controller in here on this blue wireframe, it'd just be a nightmare to deal with. And so now, if we move the entire assault rifle group, we can see that actually, for some reason, it is not moving as a unit anymore, which is incredibly strange, as it should. So we're just going to ignore that for now. Well, it's actually fine, and the reason that's fine is because we're actually making the master file right now. We'll be referencing this file later, so it's fine that the rifle group is on the ground like that. I'm assuming only Devin and Joseph are ever going to see this. If anybody else sees it, shout out to the homies in the back. All right, so we are now going to start constraining because we know our stuff's good. So we're going to grab the rifle root controller and then control click the rifle root joint. And we're going to go to this constrain. And under parent, we're going to click that checkbox. And now we want maintain offset because we don't want our Nurbs snapped around. We're going to hit add. And then we're going to grab this rifle control, move it. Perfect. Look at that. It's following it. But now if we grab this main control, these are still independent. So we're going to click main control click the bone, and hit G to repeat command. And that's going to make that parent. And we're going to go through this and do it for the mag. Hit G. Going to go through it and do it for the bullet. Hit G. And we're going to do it for the trigger. And we're going to hit G. And we're going to do it for the rifle charge handle and do it for G. And we are now going to go through here and verify our control rig works by moving each and every one of these. Hooray. And as you can see, the bullet is not actually following the controller we made. And that's actually because we're going to take this ass rifle shell casing and we're going to grab this rifle bullet control and control click this ass rifle shell casing. And we're going to parent this as well, so we could just hit G again. But for this sake, we're going to go to constrain parent. And if we look at it, it's still there. But now if we move this, the shell casing is following it because it has a parent constraint on it. This isn't the best rule of practice to do it, but for my purposes, it will be functionally fine. Uh, this would have to be done differently in a game engine if the bullet would be a part of the actual animation you're importing, because it would have to be put onto the bullet joint. So that would be probably the more proper way to do it. But for this, we're just building a control rig. We're not worried about making it a game perfect asset right now. This is about getting you something functional that you can bring into your Maya file, get animating, and worry about the technicalities a little bit later down the line. This is to get you producing something, not exactly having the most perfect rifle rig ever right now. So now we can go through and we can check all of our controls. Root does it. Main controller moves. Mag controller moves. Bullet controller moves our bullet and our control. The rifle trigger controller controls the trigger, and the charge handle controls the charge handle. And if we just button this up, there you go. You have one fully Nurbs curved control rig built assault rifle in less than 30 minutes. So I bet when you opened this file, you thought it was going to be a lot worse. And if you take the stupidity out of it, I bet you could do it in a flat 20. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful and helpful. And I'm going through puberty again. So subscribe to this channel and see me throw puberty fueled roid rage. All right, have a good one.